Good morning, everyone. Without further ado, we will start our session right now. So we have 3 guests with us today, and who are also the Y Combinator alumni as well. I will just pass the mic to them right now so they can briefly introduce themselves, and every one of us will learn more about what they've been doing, and then we will move forward to the Y Combinator application and experience to joining the programs and other startup related questions. So may I have Heatherm, maybe you can start first. Wait, you are mute right now.
Yes.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Yes. Hi everyone. Yes, my name is Heatherm Huang. Let me share my. Yes, my name is Heatherm Huang. I'm a 3-time serial entrepreneur. I co-founded my first company in 2008, which was 12 years ago. Yeah. So and also the company I went to YC was called MailTime. Yes, I co-founded that company in 2014. Yes, but in San Francisco. We went to the Y Combinator winter 2016 batch. Yeah, and the company we also relocate back to Hong Kong in 2017 after Trump got the presidency, that we have hard time to renew our working visa in the US, so we need to go back to Hong Kong. So that was 2017, and we originally pivot the company to so we recently pivot company from MailTime to Measurable AI, which is still the same company, but with the different perspective. So a little bit of MailTime. So so basically I mentioned that the other company we went to Y Combinator was called MailTime. It is an email app that makes your emails as quick and easy as text messaging. So you can imagine you can send and receive an email just like WhatsApp your friends. Okay, so that's MailTime. And then for the Measurable AI, Measurable AI is a consumer insight platform. It's an alternative data provider that generates consumer insights for hedge funds and other buy-side investors, based on billions of transactional emails receipt data. We collect from the MailTime users. Why is that? So basically, we are using Zoom right now, right? So if you are a subscriber of Zoom, every time Zoom process a payment from you, you will get one of these kind of email receipts, right? So basically our data, our data engineers and also the data scientists, we will clean the data from the email receipts sending from Zoom, and then we try to find the correlations and seeking alphas for the data from Zoom, and find the correlations to compare with their historical financial reports. And then we find a correlation from our data with the Zoom's financial report data, and come out with a correlation coefficient of 97%, and then which is highly correlated with their public announcement of the earnings. And just a couple of days ago, Zoom just released their Q2's financial report data, and then their stock price went up 40%. And then our estimates are pretty accurate. So basically, and then our data is actually generates 8 weeks before they announce their earnings. So basically, that's pretty much Measurable AI. So this is how we convert, how we pivot the MailTime app is a consumer-facing email apps, and then turn it into a data powerhouse. Yeah. Thanks.
Maybe we can, and then may I invite Andre, also can introduce. Could you introduce yourself a bit?
There we go. Hi, thanks.
Hi.
So I'm Andre Bertram. I'm the co-founder and CEO of HelpWear. We build a continuous clinical grade ECG monitor. So it's a wearable armband that goes on a patient's bicep that can detect when they have a heart problem and respond appropriately. So it's a physical device. Rubberized versions of it look like this. And then there's also fabric versions of it, which look like this. And the device can detect anything from a minor heart condition like atrial fibrillation or heart palpitation, all the way up to a lethal event. When we detect a minor event with the device on, we notify the patient's regular clinician. So this is normally either their family doctor or their cardiologist to alter their treatment plan. This is normally to get them onto a blood thinner or a beta blocker to reduce the risk of stroke by about 84%. And if a patient were to have a lethal event with the device on, we can contact emergency medical services through the device's onboard SIM card. We transfer the patient's previous medical history, a summary of the event occurrence, and their GPS location, so they're treated faster and more effectively by emergency medical services. We went through Y Combinator in the summer of 2017, and that's when we raised our seed round. And HelpWear currently operates out of St. Michael's Hospital, which is in downtown Toronto in Canada, and we're a team of 23 full-time now.
Cool. Thank you, Andre. How about Angelo? Hi, Angelo.
Yeah. I'm sharing my screen.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Angelo. I'm the co-founder and CEO of BlaBla EdTech. We are summer 20, so just graduated a few weeks back. And you can think of us as an interactive TikTok for language learning. For a ESL users like me, we studied English for years. I grew up in Taiwan, by the way, but we still struggle to speak fluent English. And when I grew up, we watch TV shows to actually improve the English speaking, but you actually don't get the interactivity from TV shows. Eventually, when I had to when I started my last venture, I managed 50 people in the team. That's where I immersing myself in a native speaking environment. And then I can really improve my speaking. But I know this is not going to be possible for many language learners out there, especially many Asian students. So we want to make it possible by combining interactivity and short videos from native speakers to help many people like me to practice speaking. We already have 8,000 weekly active users 6 weeks after launch. Our users have generated over 7,700 minutes, speaking minutes over a 3 weeks period. And that's basically about me. I successfully built a business to 5 million annual revenue, and I had an exit in 2019, and basically that's how I started my last venture, this venture, and then I sort of got into YC with this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Heatherm and Andre and Angelo. I will just quickly go through some quick facts of the upcoming Y Combinator application. So we have a upcoming batch winter 2021, 3 months program, and the deadline is 11 a.m. Hong Kong time, 24th of September. It's the first day. So submit earlier, higher chance to get admitted because they have more time to read your applications. You can submit also up to deadline, but they say they have no guarantee of the exact day of reply with a decision. The interview will be starting on October and also in late October, November, and early December. And for the number of teams, they have been increasing the number of teams in each cohort from the past record, they have more than 150 teams in the last 2 cohorts. And for the seed funding for startups, they also mentioned that they will giving 125K US dollars instead of 150K US dollars for the upcoming cohort. And for the mode of the program, because of the COVID-19, almost certainly be entirely remote. And other requirement like 10% equity as a startup founder in order to join the interviews and programs, and you have to participate. If you want to participate in YC, you need to create a parent company as a United States or Cayman Island corporation. These are open information as well. You can check it online. So we will move to questions. We have received a lot of questions from the registrant. So to start with, we start with the questions related to the YC applications. Many of the audience asked about the company setup, like because we are based in APAC, we are Hong Kong or Asian companies. So how to deal with to start a company register in the United States, and the implication of relocating to US in order to join the program, and also any good experience or lessons to share with about setting up your US mother company. Yeah, anyone want to start first?
Yeah, sure. I can start first. So basically, at the time we get into YC, they only accept the Delaware C Corp company, which is a US company, like registration at the time. However, we managed to like convince them to accept us as a BVI company. Yeah, as a BVI company instead. So basically, they do like exceptions, but not for many times. But now they officially add the Cayman Island, right? So at the time, Cayman Island, BVI, like all these companies are the same. So you need to deal with their financial teams like case by case. But now they kind of like accept some other type of companies like Cayman, and as I heard from Angelo, and they also accept like Canadian and Singapore, right? So yeah, so if you are an asset company, so at the time we have a BVI holding company to fully own 2 separate like entities. One is in Hong Kong and one is in California. So basically, yeah, so, and the parent company is BVI. So we use that BVI to went through the Y Combinator. So as you see the current staff focus in the APAC, you may have a company like registered in Hong Kong or maybe Taiwan, yes, even China. So you may want to create a parent company, and what I suggest right now is Cayman. So basically, you may want to create a Cayman company, and then you move all your, yes, you need to move all the shareholders, including like all the founders and all the investors, to, yeah, you need to transfer all the shares to the parent company, and then you use the parent company to fully own your current company, and then all the investors, all the shareholders, all the founders, they will have the, yes, they have equities in the parent companies, and you also use that parent company to go to YC.
Any other thing to add from Angelo and Andre?
If you don't have a US operation, I would suggest you just stay in Asia, like set up a Singapore company. And then you actually will get more like Asian investor because they see you are registered in Singapore. So that might be another benefit you can think about it. But if you really have the operations in US, I would suggest you to go for US operation entity.
Great. And then we can move to the next question about the stage and traction. Like what stage must the company have reached before being considered, and what is the best stage for the company to apply for YC? From their website, they said they consider a wide range. Like even if you have like 50 staff, they will still select you and fund the startups. But from your observation, what kind of stage and is the best stage for companies to apply for YC?
Yeah, so I actually want to add something because in your previous company, you also asked how did you set up the minor company and how expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, if you are a new company and then you just need to create a maybe Cayman Island like holding company, and then you transfer all the founders shares, and if you have investors, you need to deal with your investor shares as well, and then it's kind of like a mirror the shares. You don't, yeah. So the total expenses, if you are a non-Chinese company, I think you can get it under like 10K in US for for all the legal and all all the company like registration, everything. But if you are a mainland Chinese company, that would be a bit like more complicated. Usually you need to create like an entity. Yeah, you need to create like a series of entities, which is called a VIE. Okay, so you need to you need to make sure you have like fully owned like Chinese company, and you have some like agreements with each entity or something. So basically, if you want to create a VIE, it will, so it should take around, so you need to create like at least like 5 companies in the group to deal with this structure. So that usually costs around 100K in the US dollars. Yeah, so that's pretty much how expensive it was. But if you are holding a Hong Kong company and you just want to create a parent, that's relatively cheap. Yeah, you can deal with it under like a couple like $1,000. Yeah. So about the stage and traction, that's something. So when we got into YC, our valuation was at like $20 million. Yeah, was at 20 million US dollars. We have a team of around, at the time, around like 20 people. Our valuation was actually more it's more expensive than the terms from the YC, right? So basically YC will get like 7% for like 120K, right? So basically that's a pretty bad term for us. And so basically they say they accept like a wide range of companies, but they will force most of companies use the same term. Like, yes, no matter like what stage you are still like giving them 7% in exchange of like a little bit more than 100K, but they do some like exceptions. I think in the YC history, there were a very, very small number of companies that got like exceptions. Okay, they still receive like 120K, but they give them very, very small amount of the shares. Yes, for example, just like Quora. Okay, so like, yes, when Quora went into YC, they are a series like F company. Okay, so basically, YC was willing to give them like exceptions, but the chance was very rare. We were talking to them for many times, but they didn't accept to get us as a exception. Yeah. But there's one thing you need to focus on. If you are a relatively like a late stage company, even you were founded by like angel investors, like Series A investors, there's one thing you need to pay attention to, is that if you have previous like agreement, if you have like previous like anti-dilution agreement with your previous investors, you need to make sure that term will be not triggered. Okay, you need to sign a side letter with every of the previous investors with anti like dilution terms. Yeah, so like YC system will definitely trigger the anti-dilution if you do not deal with it. Just to make sure if you have, so basically based on that valuation, like 120K for 7%. So basically the valuation was like less than like $2 million, right? So as long as you raise around like more than that valuation, you need to deal with, and if you have the anti-dilution terms with your previous investors, you need to deal with that first.
Great. That's practical and useful. And anything to add from Andre?
Yeah, when it comes to what stage, I think YC really kind of assesses companies across three main metrics. The first is team. So this can be kind of the experience and the background of the individuals. Have you built anything impressive before? But most importantly, kind of when you have this vision for how the company is going to get to $1 billion in size, do the co-founders have the DNA of the type of people that could get the company to that scale on its own? Secondarily, it's market. So kind of in the olden days, it was very simply showing a really simple equation of how the company could get to $1 billion in size. The fact of the matter is in the San Francisco Bay Area, if you can't really show that the company could get to $1 billion in annual recurring revenue, it becomes very difficult to raise venture capital. So from that perspective, basic market being able to get there is important. And then last is execution, or traction. So YC sits in this really unique position where kind of every cohort now they're seeing 20,000 applications. And what that means is the partnership sees dozens and dozens and dozens and hundreds of applications, not only kind of more broadly, but kind of for anything you want to build, they've seen similar companies. If you're building a software as a service enterprise company, they've seen it. If you're building a consumer ed tech company, they've seen it. So what they're able to do is they're able to really quickly understand based on how long you've been working and how much money you've spent, are you moving way faster than the other companies that they're used to seeing? Or are you way behind? If you spent 5 years and have done what a lot of other people have done in 3 months. So when it comes to what stage, I think we've seen people get in as low as a pitch deck and an idea with a decent market and they're smart people, all the way up to people who have raised, tens of millions of dollars before going into YC. But I think what's really important is that you're thinking about when you're looking at your own application, what does my team look like, the market and execution, and you're kind of going to have to do well on one of those verticals. When HelpWear applied to YC, we were really new. I'd only been full-time with the company for 4 months. And we had already built a first prototype of the device. So we had a physical hardware device that we were able to bring into the interview and show it working on the partners. And in the kind of 4 months of starting the company, HelpWear already had a partnership with the largest hospital in the Canadian healthcare system. And we already had an office in the hospital. So we had already done clinical residencies and had shown that kind of in only a couple months of building the business, we had built a partnership with a really large hospital and we're starting to really design the technology to not only what a patient needed, but from a clinical perspective to what a doctor required as well. So YC kind of looked at us and said, okay, young, smart guys, haven't really done anything spectacular yet, but seem to be moderately competent. Big market, outpatient heart monitoring is huge. It's kind of the largest chronic disease market in the US. And then lastly, okay, in 4 months, they've signed an agreement with a hospital, which normally takes a year, and have already built a piece of hardware. So those were kind of the check boxes for us. I don't think having a prototype is necessary, but YC is pretty bullish on telling you to launch as soon as you can. And Michael Siebel loves to say, if you can't build whatever you're trying to build in a month, it's not an MVP. So from that perspective, yeah, I would try to have a prototype or launch before you get into that interview room.
Yeah, so I want to add something that we applied for YC for 3 times. Okay, so which makes us very different stage every time we apply for YC. Okay, so for the first time we applied, we only have some like angel investments. Okay, and then at the time so we went to the TechCrunch Star Battlefield, and then so basically one of the partner at YC, they saw our video at the TechCrunch Star Battlefield, and then they actually basically he was the COO of YC, and then he actually invited us to apply. So basically we were on a call for like 2 hours trying to like convince us to apply, but we applied, but we failed. and then we applied another 2 times later, and then each time we applied, we were at a different stage. Okay, so first time we applied, we haven't launched the product, but we already have a prototype. The second time we applied, we launched the product with some tractions, and we raised some more money. And the third time we apply, we already raised like we already raised more than like $2 million with more than like 1 million users. So yeah, it's pretty much different stage every time we apply. So yeah, so you can definitely like apply at a different stage, of course.
Great, great. So we can move to the next one. Yes, the type of startups. Heatherm and Angelo are working on the software startup, and Andre is working on the hardware startup. But for the most prestige and reputable alumni from the YC like Reddit, Airbnb, or Quora, etc., most of them are software startups. So any advice or insight from the type of startups or even industry of the startups that YC particularly focusing on?
So basically, every batch you have like 100 to 200 companies, right? So basically, you will see any kind of startup in each batch. Okay, so but in the different times there will be a like industry focus, right? So when we were in the YC, there was a type of startups were very popular, which was chatbot. Okay, so it was 2016, and then I think so there were around 7 or 8 companies building like different kinds of chatbots or like provide like different like solutions for chatbots in my batch. Okay, so that was quite crazy, and then they were also very popular at the demo day because the whole Silicon Valley were looking at the chatbot companies. But so I think one batch after us was about VR. So basically, I believe Sam also tweeted about we at YC were looking for more like VR companies to apply. Even they have already, they already like received like they already received like more than like enough applications, but they still look for like other they still look for like more like VR like companies to apply. So I believe in the YC's like application form, there was actually a question. So there was actually a so there was actually a category of startups was as an like option. So I think they list around 6 or 8 topics they are mostly like interested. Okay, so they are not actually the categories. They are type of startups. They are solving the specific questions. Okay, they are solving the specific like, problems. I think in the YC's applications, they will ask you to select either you are one of the 8 like type of startups.
I see.
So I believe if you are one of those 8 type of startups, they will focus. They will spend like more time to review your application. But if you are not one of those 8 type, you are the same. So basically, you are not you don't need to worry about that because they So in every batch, they pretty much accept like all kinds of startups, like any kinds of startups in different like categories in each batch. Yeah.
So those startups are called RFPs, or requests for proposals, or RFSs now, requests for startups. So those are kind of the names of those categories, and they range broadly from, AI to solve X problem, or in our year, they were very interested in outpatient health monitoring, which we fit very well into. Actually, what you'll notice is for the companies that are a little bit outside of the box, so as a hardware medical device company, we weren't kind of your standard YC applicant. The admissions percentages on those companies are actually slightly higher. I think that the reasoning for this is the YC partners are interested in them, and also because they haven't seen enough data points to know what a really good company in that vertical looks like versus a not so good company. So if you're a consumer software company, YC sees tens of thousands of you every 4 months. So if you come in with not a lot of traction, it's really easy to throw you to the side. Whereas if you're trying to, build a a supersonic jet like Boom Supersonic was, you know, they don't get 10,000 supersonic jet applications a batch, right? So when they see that, there's a higher probability of them betting on it. And actually, if you look at YC's statistics, and every year they release their admission statistics, you'll see that for things like hardware, biotechnology, kind of the harder verticals of building a company, the admission averages can be even 3 times higher.
Great. Anything to add, Angelo?
I would just only suggest like not to base on this like, you know, criteria to change your idea, or, you know, in order to get into YC. You should really believe what you're trying to build, and then really build it and use it. If you are a user of your product, that would be awesome. So you can know if it's working, and then you'll find the customers or find the users before you apply. This is probably the best criteria than worry about YC, you know, acceptance on what kind of stuff.
Yeah. And then for the fourth question, the key criteria, I think Andre also mentioned that like they're looking about the team and execution and the market, right? And I just want to see anything that other speakers want to add on. And you guys also mentioned about the co-founder and staff. The number of co-founder and staff is pretty vary. It depends. It really depends. And yes, how about the technical background? Do they take into the technical background of the founder or co-founders a lot?
Yeah, I think technical background is very important because that proves that you can build things. If you need to iterate during the YC batch, you know, if you can iterate on product without relying on, you know, an outsourced team, which is awesome. And I think it's required you to be able to build a product, you know, in the fast pass during the YC batch. And then the other things I would say, if you are a solo founder, I would not worry, but you need to make sure during the fundraising period, you can still make the company going. Yeah, so that's another key thing you need to think about. If you're a solo founder, are you able to have 3 months without working on anything on the product or even touch the product, but you're still able to continue getting new users, if the answer is no, then you need a co-founder.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
YC's mentor was called "Make Something People Want," right? So, what you need to focus is you can really to make something people want. Okay. There was a verb in this sentence which is make. Okay, so make means you need to build it, right? So, but when we were at the YC, so I think like most of the companies were building like softwares and something. I think like 80% of the companies, they are more than like, yeah, they are more like innovative ideas of a software like idea, right? So as long as it's a software idea, I don't think there's actually something really difficult for you to build. Okay, in this today's tech, right? So if you can get into YC, you definitely have the right team to build something. But I think the more important thing in this is, so basically build something people want. So that so build something wasn't the hard part. For most of the case, okay, so in most of the companies, like they don't have trouble to build something, but I think but people want, but if it is something people want, that's way more important. You need to convince your product is valuable. You need to convince you will get like good tractions when you build it. So you can like either to earn money, or you can attract like a lot of users, and you can convince some like big clients. So so you need to prove you are building something people want.
Yeah, great. I will move to the the fifth question is like the source of success. All of you are come from different cohorts of YC, different batches, and could you like share really how to make yourself or your company stand out, and what are the differentiators you think you had in your companies in order to get into YC?
Okay, so like yes, at my batch there were like 8,000 applications, and you also mentioned that there were like 20,000 now, right? So even you didn't get into an interview, it doesn't mean your application wasn't good, because it's just because there were too many applications. They couldn't like read every single application like carefully, right? So yes, there's no way, because they only have like 20 people like working full-time at YC, and then each of them need to read like 1,000 applications, which is impossible to actually go into the detail of each application. So basically, they have an internal referral system that every alumni can actually. So basically can actually give a referral on the YC's like platform. So we used to give referrals to some of the friend startups and some like amazing applications. But I'm not so sure whether they have wait for different founders to do the referral. Maybe so if founders of Airbnb to do a referral or something, that maybe was way that would be like way more important than we made a referral or something. So they actually have a leaderboard of referrals. So we see some companies are quite like amazing. They got like hundreds of referrals before YC start to review the applications. That's also something quite like amazing. If you have that kind of like marketing skills that you can convince many founders of a YC community to refer you, that is also a skill you want to show to the YC's partners as well. But it's just like the YC demo day. There was so each company only have each company only have like only have 3 minutes to present to the investors. So the investors has no way to remember like exactly like what you are what you were building, right? So when you submit the application, even before you submit the application, you should try to talk to as many as YC alumni as you can, and then even ask them for advice of how to build the good application, and then also try to get as many as referrals you can, and try to. And also, I see some companies also make some like noise, on social media. Okay, so basically, they have so they will create some like opportunities by themselves to let more YC partners to see it. And then in my specific case, I mentioned we applied for YC for 3 times, right? For the last time we applied, we actually went to something called a YC's like open office hour. Like there was one partner at YC, they tweet about he's going to have like 5 sessions of open office hour in some specific during some specific like conference or something. And then we applied to that like open office hour. We had a chance to meet one of the partners like before the application closed. And then so we also share what we were building in person. And then he also write down Amber, and then
you get the chance to meet them in other occasions, so you can pitch them. So I got questions about like what Andre just said before. Andre, you mentioned team as being one of the pillars that is strongly considered. Can you give some data points regarding team that the selection process considers, like both at individual founder level or at the team level? Like what is the matrix to when they assess the team element?
Yeah, so I don't think it's really about, there's no kind of golden ticket. I think it's just all about finding exceptional people who have done something that shows that they're competent and can do the thing that they promise that they're going to do. A lot of YC founders went to a Stanford, a Harvard, a Yale, a Princeton, etc. I was at MIT for a brief period, which probably means I know how to write code. And then I went to Waterloo. So 2 schools that probably mean I can ship product. You know, some people have PM experience, product management or project management experience at one of the large tech companies. So think your Twitter, Facebooks, Airbnbs, etc. They normally like to see like individual expertise. So kind of before HelpWear had started, I had spent 2 years doing residencies and observerships in cardiology and emergency medicine, really understanding the clinical needs for the technology that we were building. And actually my Y Combinator interview was really spending 10 minutes with the partners, teaching them the things they didn't understand about cardiology and the way a hospital works. So from that perspective, they didn't ask me. I had spent, you know, hours on a plane preparing for all these questions that everyone tells you they're going to ask me. No, they just wanted to know what a heart attack was and how it worked and how they treated it. So from that perspective, it's just about something spectacular. For me, I think it was, I got into YC when I was 19. So I was a young YC founder. But I had, you know, I worked at NASA when I was 16 and I had data points that showed that I, you know, knew stuff. There were also founders who, you know, one of the guys in my batch was a partner at the firm that's in the Wolf of Wall Street. Like, so like, you know, people vary from, there was 6-year-olds in my batch and, you know, I was 19. It's really just about having a team that's diverse to show that you can do the things you're going to need to get the company to $1 billion and trying to show in whatever way possible that you're somebody who can execute.
I see. Just another quick question from Joseph. For non-technical co-founders, he wants to know that whether non-technical co-founders are chances really slim. Any quick and short answer to that?
Yeah, I think your chances are lower if you have no capacity to build the product that you're building. The reason is what ends up happening is you're either going to have to pay to have an external development firm do all of your building, and those iterations can be expensive. Secondarily, you have no control over anything, right? If you want to make a small tweak, what are you going to do? Contact some firm in the Ukraine to do development work for you, right? Or your costs from day one are just going to be higher because you have to spend money to hire somebody who can actually build product. There are great examples of founders who have kind of hacked around and just used spreadsheets. And there's a lot of no code or low code solutions. You can do a lot on Webflow and stuff now that maybe a decade ago you couldn't. But yeah, I think both for the stability of your company and for being able to build things quickly, maybe find a technical co-founder. Not a necessity, but
it's always better. Yeah, and how about, do we need an amazing video when we are submitting the application?
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Never spend too much time on the videos.
Actually, in the application, there was a session asked you to upload a video for all the co-founders like speaking. Okay, so we actually, so basically during our 3 applications, we actually use the same video.
Okay. Okay, so advice from alumni.
There's example.
Too much time on that, yeah.
There's example videos, literally just like put your iPhone a distance away from you, all sit on a couch where you can see all the co-founders in frame and just say what you're building. And
okay,
that's it.
Got it. Okay, yes, and yeah, we finished about some questions about application. And the next part, we want to learn more about your experience and like what you have earned from the YC program. And the first one is a very typical one. What was your motivation for applying to YC and how did YC help your startups? Anyone want to take that?
I can take that. So the motivation is actually very simple. It's sort of like going Harvard. The reason just like, well, you end the batch, right? So that's very simple. As an entrepreneur, something, well, either you have been getting a lot of users, you're making a lot of money, and as an early stage startup, right? YC is definitely a very cool milestone. I wouldn't say without it you'll die, but it's very cool milestone like you can have as an entrepreneur.
Get it. And for the second question, how do you guys compare YC with other local incubating or accelerating programs that you have joined before?
Look at the data. YC wins on every metric. You know, capital raised, number of unicorns, etc. There's YC wins on everything. Nobody raises any money at a Techstars.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you can. I think Andre and me, we both went to CDL, right? So yeah, so this is also what you can do. So taking some milestone, just like accept something that's available for you, and use that opportunity to get to know, to network with a lot of people, and then prepare, build your products and getting momentum and get into YC. Of course, if you are able to raise a lot of money before YC, then you don't need a YC anymore. But any accelerator is good because they are helping you to prepare, right? So it's always good. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, at the time, we were actually so we were a team from Hong Kong, and then we moved to San Francisco to start the company. So at the time, we tried to fit into the Silicon Valley's ecosystem, right? So we figured out that if we have a chance to get into YC, and at the time the 500 startup was also quite famous at the time. But now it's kind of like fitting out. So basically the reason why we want to apply for YC and also 500 startup is to experience the Silicon Valley, right? So basically we were some like founding like entrepreneurs, and try to and chasing American dreams. So like start a company in Silicon Valley, and then we managed to get into some cool like conference like TechCrunch, Battlefield, and then but we still want to try to really get into the ecosystem, right? So basically our relationship before we joined YC was more like China focused. We have some investors from China, and then we try to be we thought joining a like top like incubator was the easiest way to really get into the ecosystem.
And the next question is an interesting one because the COVID-19 is changing the norm, and any insight in pitching for YC under the new normal? Any thoughts for that?
Yeah, the only piece of data that I think is kind of interesting is, and I think Angelo would know a little more from firsthand experience, but I was under the presumption that capacity to raise capital would completely drop off, and investors just wouldn't have the appetite to cut the same level of checks as they were. I'm a limited partner in a VC firm in the Bay Area that does exclusively YC deals, and valuations are up. People are raising more money faster. I think it's probably harder for the worst companies to raise rounds, but markets are better now in private markets than they have been in a really long time in terms of raising a small seed round. So one of the things in terms of the new normal is it was my presumption, as it will probably be yours, that it's going to be a lot harder to raise through YC virtually. But the early data from this batch and last doesn't really prove that.
Yeah, I think a lot of our batchmates are able to raise the funds, right after this demo day. So I don't think that is an issue, but you need to think about what you're doing compared to other people are doing at this moment. Like at this moment in time, you definitely don't want to build Airbnb or traveling company, right? It's not going to get you anywhere. So you need to think about, are you doing the right thing at the right time? Yeah.
Great. And how when you are in the YC program, how do they connect the alumni with the existing cohorts, and how does the community like engage and help the YC members through the alumni network?
We have an internal social network called Bookface. That is a YC alumni only platform that has everybody's contact information. So I have the cell phone numbers of all of these fine gentlemen, as well as the founders of Airbnb. So it's kind of an open community where we, can talk about anything from investors to practical advice on things. So a lot of B2B SaaS companies sell to other YC alumni companies. That's where a lot of their hockey stick growth by Demo Day comes from. And then there's also something called Alumni Demo Day. So the day before Demo Day, you practice Demo Day on a group of alumni YC founders. And that's where 30% of all the capital raised at Demo Day comes in. So it's really good because you get early validation. YC alumni tend to be really good investors because we know what bad investors are like, and we tend to not be bad investors. And then from there, when you get investment from a YC alumni, we probably have a bunch of people that gave us money, and we've probably made them money once upon a time if we have the money to cut a check into you. So they tend to be really good early money that helps you put together your fundraise.
Cool.
Yeah, so I want to add a little bit more about the Bookface. So basically, so basically when you are a YC company, you have the access to the Bookface, and there is actually a forum on the Bookface. So basically, you can pretty much ask anything of any questions, and if you want to connect with any companies in the world, you want to know anyone in the world, as long as you have a good reason, I think there will be one or few like YC alumni that can like connect you to like anyone in the world. Okay, so basically, so it's a very, very strong like alumni like network. So I asked maybe a number of questions on the forum, and in the areas I'm not like familiar with, and then just within like half days, I already get like 5 connections to the top experts in the area I was seeking for advice. So
great. So in international network, to different markets.
And also the YC membership is like a lifetime like memberships. So once you are a YC company, you are always a YC company. So basically, you can always use the network. You can always request an office hour with any YC partners, like anytime just after you graduate.
Great. So the last question is, anything surprising or amusing that you have discovered throughout that 3 months? Any interesting stories to share?
So YC, so basically YC's methodology may not be really for every startups at different stage, because so basically once you get into YC, YC will ask you to find one specific like metric that can trace the growth. Okay, so like each companies have like different like metrics. Yeah, basically some companies maybe the number of users, some companies maybe just maybe the MAU, or just maybe a retention rate, or maybe the sales growth. Okay, so basically each company, they will ask you to find the right like metrics, and then they will trace that metrics every time you meet a partner, every time you meet your groups. Okay, so but that metrics really give people like pressure, because some of your teammates, some of your group mates are, yes, they are doing way better job than you, and some and some of the companies they may not at the right stage to grow that number. They were at the pivoting of their product idea. They were at something, so they may not really really start to facing that number. Okay, so yeah, so that's something I need to point out. But given that joining the YC was kind of like a once in life experience. Okay, so I think and then so because when we joined the YC, our valuation was like 10 times more than YC's valuation. So basically, we were confused that do we really want to take the offer, because if we took the offer, we are giving out like 7% share for free mostly, and then we have a huge down run, right? But by the end, our investors actually convinced us to accept the offer, because they think joining YC is way more important for the founders than the startup you were building. Okay, so it's way more important than founder themselves than the startup.
Cool. We are running out of time, so I just want to go through, because some of the questions are directed to the panelists. And yes, for the first one, one of our startup team members asking about like what exactly are they looking into these questions, such as what is the important fact that few people will agree you on, and what have you hacked before for non-entering founders or co-founders. I think the one asking these questions because he applied for YC as well, and he encountered such questions, and maybe he want to know what exactly looking into in these questions. Do you have any idea, Andre?
Yeah, I think it very much is an opportunity. It's an open-ended question, and it's an opportunity for you to highlight anything you'd like. For technical people, it's a good opportunity to talk about something technical you've done and take hacked in a very literal sense. And then if you're more on the business side, you know, what's a social system or time you've kind of bent a rule to your benefit. This is really just an opportunity for the YC partners to get a better chance to know you and that you're a smart, competent, capable person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a little bit of fun with it. They read thousands of applications. So yeah, maybe don't talk about code for once.
Cool. And do you want to address the hardware question as well? The second one? Yeah.
Yeah. So YC's core competency is definitely not building a hardware company. That being said, I think that when you look at the difficulties or the things you need to understand on how to build a hardware product, a lot of the concepts can be bought. You can hire people that understand how to manage a manufacturing line or how to, you know, optimize a physical product for design for manufacturing. So from that perspective, the biggest way in which YC kind of supports hardware companies is it gives you access to capital. Raising as a hardware startup is very, very difficult. So the capacity to raise a $2 million seed round in a couple weeks is a real competitive advantage for hardware companies. When it comes to how YC specifically can help, I was the first cohort where Eric Mijakovsky, who was the founder of a company called Pebble, they were a smartwatch company that went from 0 to 750 million in valuation and then sold for parts for 38 million to Fitbit. But Eric is one of the most kind of successful hardware entrepreneurs in terms of he shipped over 250,000 products in his career. He really knows how to ship a product from Shenzhen. What channels or resources do they have to develop your knowledge on the hardware front? So when it comes to YC, they actually host a lot of alumni events. We've gone to Shenzhen twice or 3 times with YC alumni in the hardware space. And we go and we drink together and we look at manufacturers together and we, compare notes on supply chain stuff. So kind of my piece for YC is that they have a little bit of hardware experience. There's a lot of alumni now. We do a hardware demo day. So we'll have kind of in the middle of the batch, a lot of the hardware CTOs will come and help the earlier stage hardware companies in the batch. But from my perspective, kind of your options as a hardware founder is either raise money on your own and don't go through an incubator, which can be really difficult. If you have the network to do that quickly, go for it. You don't need an incubator or accelerator. Your second option is to go to a hardware-focused firm like a Hacks. And I think if you look at the data coming out of Hacks just does not do as well at building successful companies. And then last is go to like a YC. There is an alumni network and be able to raise money faster. And I think YC is still the best option.
Cool. And I want to ask Angelo, as an EdTech company, how to improve the possibility of success for YC application? Do you have any experience to share?
Yeah, I think as an EdTech company, right? Because now it's actually very good timing to build remote EdTech. So it doesn't matter which, I would highly suggest you to think about your education background, your experience, in which area like you can help to build an EdTech company. And you can target just a different age group and you will have a product. So and nowadays, like for EdTech, right, not only for the language learning, right, you have science, you have a lot of arts, student after school, a lot of things you can build for the EdTech. So this is actually very good timing, I think, in terms of EdTech. And then maybe it might not get a higher valuation compared to other companies like B2B companies, but if you can actually manage to have a lot of users, I think you will be fine eventually, because this is a good timing, very good timing to build an EdTech company.
Great. Go online because of this one of the new normal. I think they are looking at this kind of solution as well. And the last one is to Heatherm. Like your company is MailTime on the YC website, but right now you're Measurable AI. It's like what inspired you to change from that?
Okay, so so as I said, it is the same company. So basically, when we were building the MailTime, it was a consumer-facing like email app, and then for the Measurable AI, so we aggregate those like consumers, like MailTime users like email receipt data into the consumer insights for hedge funds. And actually, the idea was actually coming from the YC partner because one batch before us which was the summer of 2015, there was another company. It was called Second Measure. So basically, they kind of aggregate as credit card like data into the consumer insights for the hedge funds. So basically, at the time we were building the MailTime app, we have like a couple million users, but we have struggled how we can like monetize an email app. Like nobody will actually like pay for an email app, right? So basically, the idea was coming out from like talking with like YC alumni, and then also to the YC partners to find our to identify our business model.
Great. Just I think the product market fit question is really important, and you guys are like elite and very sharp founders. Do you have any experience to share about finding the product market fit?
I think this is important. Like you have to assume you don't get the funding, because at YC, when you do a fundraising, they will give you an A, B, C plan. B plan is when you're able to close the normal fund. C means you're oversubscribed. A means you get nothing. So you need to assume within your own resources, you're able to build something to get the product market fit. That is the worst case, and this is how you're going to succeed as an entrepreneur. So you have to assume you can do that. Without resources, you can get to product market fit. So you need to find the way. So basically, when you think about your idea, think about the resources you have. Does it make sense for you to get to product market fit without an extra funding? That's how you get there. Yeah.
Great. This is useful. And yes, I think we are more or less finished all the questions from the audience, and also we also addressed the questions from the chat room and the Q&A. Yes, and so I think before we wrap up, I just want to share some links for, all online. You can read these interviews and news about the upcoming YC arrangements to decide whether you go for it. And the students who are watching right now, or other Hong Kong new members who are watching right now, you can sign up our Entrepreneurship Academy as well, starting in late September. My colleagues will share the registration link in the chat room, so you can sign up over there. And last one, like, reach out to us if you want any help on innovation, entrepreneurship, and startups, and we are happy to help. Yes, and thanks again for all the speakers today, and very insightful and practical experience sharing about the YC life and the application. And if any audience or members have applied YC and get the invitation of the interview, and you can reach out to us if you want us to connect with any Hong Kong alumni or other YC alumni under our network to help you further. Just let us know. So thank you, Angelo, thank you, Andre, and thank you, Heatherm, and hope you all enjoy the session.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.